Conor McGregor doesn't do a lot of media these days, but he did do a quick little interview here at the Blackford Gym. There was sort of an event going on with Mike Tyson in Ireland, and Bloody Elbow caught up with him. And here's championship rounds with the clip. Conor McGregor talking about a potential fight against Islam Makhachev. We're going to watch the clip. I'll give my thoughts on this after about a potential fight. Could it ever happen in the future? Could it not? And then I'll give you kind of my thoughts on McGregor as a whole. But first, here's Conor McGregor talking about his future with Bloody Elbow. Let's go check out the clip here. It's about a minute and 13.
The White House is on.
The White House is on. We're just waiting for, full confirmation. I assume around February they'll come reaching out and we'll go into contract negotiations and matchmaking and all that. That's what they say. So I'm just staying ready in the gym, 2 times a day.
Does Islam motivate you a bit more than most, like any other champion before that, because you have that feud with them?
No. I'm motivated, I'm self-motivated, and I for sure want to crack at that belt. I for sure want to crack at that 70-pound belt to go for the Triple Crown.
And what a fight that would be, you and Islam. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it, after all these years?
A good fight, a good scrap. Southpaw. It was a good performance out of him, and fair play to him. He had the courage to do it, to go up. So, yeah, I'm excited for it. Let's see what happens. Let's get back in the mix.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty special. What's Michael Chandler for you?
Like I said, I hope, but I won't say no to no one. I won't. The UFC will decide it, and I don't care. I just want to come back. I'm just eager to come back and show my work.
I think we all are at this point. We want to see Conor McGregor back. First and foremost, unlike a lot of the McGregor, sort of media bits we've seen over the last couple of years, looks like Conor McGregor's sober here, which is good, right? Like, we do want to see McGregor back. Say what you want about McGregor outside the cage and everything else. When Conor McGregor's fighting, when he's competing on a card, it's better for everyone because he is the biggest superstar in the UFC, biggest superstar in UFC history. There's no question about it. So a couple things that were kind of said here that I wanted to make note of. He's talking about fighting at the White House. Let's hope that happens. Let's hope. I mean, I don't care if it's Chandler or whoever. That's, as long as he fights on that card, that will make it a worthwhile card for anyone because, again, McGregor, biggest superstar in the UFC. So good that he's sort of saying that. Good that he's sober here. He's talking about training in the gym as he's pouring alcohol. I know he has some, deals with, he's still got some, some stouts that he sells and all that. I understand you have to be there, but if you're a guy that's trying to clean up your life and everything, you probably shouldn't be in this type of environment, but to each their own. Like I said, he looks like he's sober here. So he's talking about the White House, but let's talk about the task at hand. That is the topic of Islam. Now, the one thing I will say about this, I don't know if this fight will ever happen. I think it's something the UFC would entertain. We've seen the matchmaking recently. They are very much about making big fights that don't necessarily have anything to do with the rankings, but fights that I think would get fans interested. And there would be a lot of fans that would watch an Islam-Conor McGregor fight. And if you look at it from Islam's perspective, Conor's probably one of the better matchups for him to have at 170 because of the layoff. Even if McGregor comes back and fights at the White House, it's one fight since 2021 that he would have had. That's good odds. McGregor's a lot older now. If you're Islam, of course you want to fight Conor McGregor. Now, maybe he doesn't. Maybe there's such bad blood with him and Habib and that whole team that they don't want to even give him that opportunity. That could happen too. But I think if you're Islam and you're looking at big fights for the rest of your career, Conor McGregor's got to be at the top of the list. Now, the one thing that does help McGregor, as opposed to say Ilia Topuria, because a lot of people want that Topuria fight, I've said this before, I don't know if the UFC is just going to let Topuria move up another weight class to fight Islam Makhachev. Not to mention Topuria is out right now. We don't know when he's going to come back and fight the winner of Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. So there's a lot of things that could delay a potential Islam and Ilia Topuria fight. Now, I've done a bunch of videos on this. I think Islam's going to end up fighting Kamaru Usman. If that does happen, that puts more of a logjam at 170. So the timing of this would be very tricky. But the thing with McGregor as opposed to Topuria is McGregor's not coming back to fight at 155. I think he's done in that weight class. I have not heard any indication that McGregor is going to move back down to 155, which is where he won the second belt. It seems like a Michael Chandler fight would be at 170 is my understanding. Let me know in the comments if you think otherwise, but my understanding is McGregor would come back at 170, not 155. So if he's coming back at 170, that actually helps his case of getting an Islam fight for the simple fact that, again, that's a weight class where the UFC doesn't have to move things around. Because here's the problem: if you move Topuria up, then what happens with the lightweight belt? It gets vacant again and then someone has to fight for it, or they're hoping that to put, like, we know the UFC doesn't like having champions move up and keep their title. At least recently, we saw with Weili Zhang, she had to vacate her title. Ilia Topuria had to vacate his 145-pound title. Like, I don't think that, like, they're just going to let him vacate a title to fight Islam again. I think it would have to be a situation where he moves up. So this is where McGregor could put a wrench in things, and we'd still get a very big fight in the fact that McGregor, like I said, I think is going to come back at 170. So it'll be interesting. Now, as far as this fight being competitive, if it does end up happening, I mean, Islam's on another level right now. He's active. He's, dominating opponents. He looks great at 170. You'd have to favor Islam in that. Now, people would say, and I've seen this in the comments, I saw a few people in here talking about, we do have people saying he's going to get murdered and all that, but there was someone in here being, what do we have here? There was one guy who was supporting him. Yeah, here we go. If we're being realistic, he's the only one who has a chance. Now, I know where this user is coming from because McGregor's got knockout power. The thing I would point out, though, with Conor McGregor, especially at 170, sorry, I should have had this up beforehand, doesn't have a lot of knockout wins at 170. And that's one thing I do wonder. A lot of his knockout wins have come in the lighter weight classes at 155. In fact, his only knockout win was a head kick punch win over Cerrone, and I believe that was a welterweight fight. It was. All his other fights where he's gotten his, his highlight reel finish knockouts against Eddie Alvarez is at lightweight, and then the majority of his knockouts came at featherweight, where guys are, going to be a little bit lighter. McGregor's power, I think, was a little bit more. I still don't know if he can really go out there and knock anyone out at 170. Maybe he can, but again, he's 37, hasn't fought since 2021. It's just one of those things where, I just don't think the odds favor that. So if he can't get the knockout, which I think is more likely, then he's just going to get taken down and probably submitted, right? Like, let's be honest. But don't put it past the UFC not wanting to put this fight together for the simple fact that they, again, if you look at the recent matchmaking, they're very much about let's put in big names, big fights together. Like, Armin you can forget it. Lerone Murphy, Movsar Evloev, we don't need you. We're going to get, we're going with more exciting fights. So while McGregor says this, and I see a lot of people being like, it's never going to happen, all this stuff, I wouldn't put it past it. Now, the one thing that you do see some comments here, people saying he's never going to fight again. We got someone here saying this. I get that too. Trust me, we've been fooled way too many times, right? The broken toe, all these things. I mean, it's been so long since Conor fought. So I wouldn't hold my breath for this fight happening. But if Conor does come back, I mean, the only difference I would say between the Conor now and the Conor before is he does look sober. I mean, that's a positive sign here, right? If Conor's not on drugs, if he's not, partying and all this stuff, I think there's at least a slimmer of a possibility, a slight possibility that we do end up seeing him on the fight on the White House. Now, if he does fight on the White House, I think all bets are on at this point about him fighting maybe Islam or some of these big names, because I don't think McGregor's, even if he does come back, I don't think he's going to be fighting for much longer. I mean, he's set. He doesn't need to fight ever again. He's got enough money to do whatever he wants. But you could even see it here, like, I don't know, as someone who's watched McGregor's career, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this video didn't watch McGregor in his prime or anything like that. You see the way he talks here. I'll just kind of go. I'm not going to show you exactly what he's saying, but like you watch him here. If this seems like the old McGregor, where he's very serious, he's not promoting, he's not saying crazy stuff. He just seems very focused and, kind of like the old McGregor. And, we heard the stories about him, finding Jesus and all this stuff. Let's hope it's true. Because again, if McGregor's good to go, it's better for the sport. The UFC lacks superstars. McGregor's a superstar for them. They need to, cash in on this as much as they can. So let's hope that everything sort of, pans out and it happens. So as far as like a percentage of this fight happening, I'll go 40%. I'll even go that high. Like I kind of feel like maybe this is the opportunity now where McGregor has cleaned things up and he comes and fights at the White House, and maybe we do get an Islam fight. I'm not going to say it's more than 50% because, again, a lot of things would have to happen. But I just look at, again, I'm taking this off the evidence that we have, which is that McGregor seems to have turned it around. He does seem sober in this interview. Positive sign there. The UFC doesn't care about the rankings or matchmaking, like as far as being fair. So you got those two big things. And you're looking at the fact that McGregor's fighting in the proper weight class for him to fight Islam, as opposed to Ilia Topuria, who's fighting at 155. So this is where I think this fight could end up happening, but not going to hold my breath, but something fun to talk about anyways. And that's why I wanted to do this video, just to kind of talk about, would there be interest in a fight with Conor and Islam? So let me know in the comments, do you think this fight ever happens? Do you think Conor returns to the White House? If this fight happens, does Conor have any sort of chance whatsoever? I just don't think his power translates to 170, and I think it would be a fairly easy win there for Islam. But, and I don't like using the word easy, but I like my odds here with a guy who hasn't fought since 2021, is, not been super consistent. I'll take those odds there. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I think the buildup would be more exciting than the actual fight, and that alone would be enough for the UFC to make the matchup. So let me know. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.